Welcome back, my SharePoint friends. Today we are diving deep into the world of the SharePoint administrator with a good focus on a scenario-based interview questions. Whether you are a seasoned administrator or just starting out, mastering these questions is essential for acting your next job interview, or it will also help in your career. So join us so that we can explore the real world scenario based best practices, and we can also equip with the knowledge and confidence to excel in any SharePoint interview round. Thank you. So here the question is, users are reporting slow performance on your SharePoint site. How would you troubleshoot and address this issue? So there can be multiple parameters that should be verified to check the slowness of the SharePoint site. So here we can say means we will check the server performance, database health, network latency, and additionally you also need to check the SharePoint logs, and you can use the tools like SharePoint Designer for the performance analysis. So here the question is, if a user accidentally deleted any important document library, then how would you restore it? So answer for this question this should be that I will go to the SharePoint Central Admin to recover the deleted library from the recycle bin. If it's still not there, then we need to check the second stage recycle bin or use SharePoint PowerShell command to check that. Here the question is, a user is unable to upload the document that is larger than 50 MB. So how you would handle this? So to handle this type of issue, you need to check the maximum upload size setting in the central admin, and maybe if it's required, then you can adjust from the central admin. And additionally, you can also verify the setting at the web application and IIS level. Here the question is, the user have set the alerts, but alerts are not coming to them. Then how would you troubleshoot and fix this type of issue? So to fix this type of issue, you first need to check the outgoing email setting in the central admin and ensure that SharePoint timer service is running. So where you can check the SharePoint timer services, from the services option you can check the SharePoint timer service, and you can also verify that whatever the alert setting you just have configured, is it correct or not. The question is, if a site collection admin accidentally deleted a subsite, okay, so here the subsite is get deleted by the site collection admin. So the question can be how we will recover it. So to recover this one, we take the help of the SharePoint PowerShell to restore the deleted subsite from the site collection recycle bin. Next question is, a user report that they cannot access a specific document library. How would you troubleshoot and resolve this issue? So here interviewer wants to know means if a user is not able to access any document library, then what should be the troubleshoot step? So in a troubleshoot step, we first need to check the library permission. When permissions should be in place, okay, and we can also check the group membership and the SharePoint site permission that user should have. Okay, if they don't have the permission, then you need to grant that necessary permission to the user. How do you manage the permission for a SharePoint site? So for a permission for a SharePoint site can be managed at a different level. So permission can be managed at the site, library or the list level. Okay. And to manage this, you can utilize the group permission level and inheritance to control the access. So next question is that in your organization, a user accidentally deleted a folder that have the sensitive document. Okay, so how you will recover that deleted items from there? Okay, so the answer should be for recovering the deleted items. We will use the version history feature. Okay, and with the help of the version history feature, we can restore the deleted folders or files. Interviewer wants to know about the security practices. Okay, so interviewer may ask how you would enforce the security best practice in the SharePoint. So you just need to reply that you will do regular review and audit permission that uses the list privilege principles and educate users on the security practices. Regularly updating SharePoint and applying patches is also crucial for that one. Here the interviewer asks is if a user need access to a specific document but it contains confidential information, how would you handle this request? So I would review the user role and responsibility and if necessary create a unique permission set for the user to access that confidential document. So with that unique permission only that particular user will be able to access that document. How do you enable the versioning for a document library? So to enable the versioning for a document library, you first need to go to the library, then library setting, then you need to choose the versioning setting there, and there you can enable the versioning. Okay, and you there you can also configure the major version, minor version, and draft item security. Here the interviewer want to know if you have a large number of document and you need to move that large number of document between the document library from one document library to different document library. So how you will do it efficiently? So for that we need to use the feature of SharePoint open with Explorer. Okay, so that option you will able to see in the document library setting. Okay, so from here you can drag and drop between the library, whatever file you want to move from one library to another library. Okay, and you can also take the help if required of the SharePoint PowerShell to use the bulk movement. Here the requirement is that user want to do a setup for the content approval for a document library. So how he can do? Okay, so for doing this one, user need to enable the content approval in the library setting. Okay, and there he need to configure the approval workflow if it is required. Next question is user complain about the difficulty of finding document, means user is not able to find the document. What feature or strategy can improve document discovery? So I would recommend implementing metadata using the content type, and we can also create the view and optimize the search setting to enhance the document discovery so that user should can easily able to find that document. How can users set up the alerts for change of the documents in a SharePoint library? So user want to know if any change in the document happen, then an alert should receive by him. Okay. So for that there is a feature in the document library that user can set the alert me in the library. Okay. And here user need to choose the alert setting and specify the condition for which they want to be alerted, means on the new I document or the any modification in the document or any deletion of the document, whatever the activity will happen, then user will receive that alert in the mail. User are having trouble to finding the document through search. How can you optimize the SharePoint search? So I would check and optimize the search configuration, ensure that whatever the content user want to search that has been crawled properly, and also consider the implementing manage metadata for the better search result. Here, the interviewer want to know about the search knowledge of the candidate. So interviewer want to ask if a user want to create a custom search scope, how would you guide them through the process? So the answer should be you would instruct the user to go to the search service application, create a new scope, define some rules, and then associate the scope with the appropriate search pages. How do you manage metadata in SharePoint and why is it important? So metadata can be managed through term sets and managed metadata columns. It is crucial for improving document classification, search, and overall information management. User want to filter document based on metadata. How can you assist them in creating custom view? So you need to guide them to go to the library setting where they can create the view on the base of the metadata fields. And view can include filters, sortings, and grouping options. A user want to customize the navigation of the SharePoint site. What options are available for navigation customization? So user can customize the navigation by configuring the global navigation, current navigation, and structural navigation setting in the site setting. So whenever you will go in the site setting, you will able to see these three navigation types. Okay, global navigation, current navigation, and structural navigation. And from there, they can use the edit link option for the quick changes. Let's talk about the SharePoint Designer. So here interviewer want to you create a workflow by using the SharePoint Designer. So in the SharePoint Designer, you first navigate to the desired site, then you will go to the workflow section and choose to create a new workflow. Okay, so there you can define the different stages and conditions as per the business requirement. User want to set up approval workflow for document library. What tool and steps would you recommend to him? So, for this question, you should answer that I would recommend using SharePoint Designer to create a custom approval workflow, configuring it to start an item creation or modification, and specifying the approval names. A user reports that a workflow is stuck and not progressing. How would you troubleshoot and resolve this issue? So for that, you need to check the workflow history, review the workflow logic and conditions in the SharePoint Designer. And you also need to ensure that whatever services are required, that should be in the running state. How can you restrict access to certain SharePoint Designer actions or features? So to restricting this, you need to use the SharePoint Designer settings to control that who can use this tool, okay? And limiting certain actions or features based on user role and responsibilities. A user want to create a reusable workflow. How can they achieve this by using SharePoint Designer? So for that, user need to create a reusable workflow by saving it as a template and associating it with different lists or library as needed. So here user want to integrate SharePoint with Microsoft Teams. How is it possible? So we need to guide the user to use the share to Teams option in SharePoint to connect the document and pages with the team channels. Additionally, you can also recommend to setting up a SharePoint as a team within a Teams channel. A user want to connect SharePoint with external data source. What options are available for external data connectivity in SharePoint? So here will use the business connectivity service that connect the SharePoint with the external data source, enabling them to interact with external data within a SharePoint. How do you enable incoming email for a document library in SharePoint? So for incoming email, we need to do the setting the central admin, okay, and the library should be email enabled to ensure that necessary email services are running. User want to synchronize SharePoint library with their local computer. What options are available for sync and how would you guide them? So user can use the OneDrive for Business to sync SharePoint library locally. Okay. So there is the option of the sync in the library. So from there they can do the setup for the synchronization. How do you configure SharePoint to work with Active Directory for user authentication? Here, user reports the slow performance when they are accessing the SharePoint list that have the large number of items. So how we can optimize the list performance? So for that we need to do the indexing columns that are used in the view, implementing the filtered view and setting item level permissions. Okay. Additionally, you can archive or split large list so that it can improve the performance. Next question is how can you optimize SharePoint performance for a globally distributed user base? So for that we need to implement the content delivery network using distributed cache services and configuring multiple SharePoint servers in different regions to reduce the latency. Next question is a user want to know the best practice for backing up and restoring SharePoint. How would you guide them? So I would recommend them use the regular backups using SharePoint Central Admin or PowerShell, and that can ensure that both content and configuration database are properly backup. And the restoring involves using the same tools to recover the database. User report the issue with large file upload. How can you optimize SharePoint for handling the large files? I would check and adjust the maximum upload size setting in the SharePoint Central Admin, IIS, and the web application level. Okay, and in this case, I might consider using the remote blob storage that is used for the large files. A user want to implement load balancing for their SharePoint form. What step would you recommend? So I guide user to set up a load balancer for the SharePoint servers, ensuring that requests are evenly distributed. Additionally, I would configure the network load balancing and will monitor the server health. Next question is how do you plan for SharePoint upgrade to a newer version? So I would start by reviewing Microsoft upgrade documentation, ensuring that customization are compatible whatever system we have. I would set up a test environment, perform a trial upgrade, and then plan for production upgrade based on whatever result we received from the test version. After applying the patch on the SharePoint, a user reports some issue. How would you address that? So to address this, developer need to review the SharePoint logs for errors related to the patch. We also need to review the Microsoft documentation for the known issue, and if necessary, then a rollback is the last option for this one. How do you handle custom solutions and third-party apps during a SharePoint upgrade? So for that, you need to ensure that all the custom solution and third-party apps are compatible with the target SharePoint versions, and you also need to update and replace the incompatible solutions, or you can also choose the alternative for that one. A user want to test a SharePoint patch in a sandbox environment before applying it to the production environment. How can they do this? For doing this, a user need to set up a separate SharePoint environment, apply the patch in the sandbox environment, and do the thorough testing for all the functionality before considering it for the production moment. How do you manage and deploy the custom solution in the SharePoint? So custom solution can be deployed using the SharePoint designers, Visual Studio, or PowerShell. So there are these three methods that can be utilized to deploy the custom solutions. And you also need to ensure that whatever solution you are going to deploy that are properly tested in the development environment before doing in the production. A SharePoint server has experienced a hardware failure. How do you recover the SharePoint environment? I would use the most recent backup to restore the content and configuration database. Additionally, I would reinstall the SharePoint on the new server and connect this to the recovered database. How do you implement high availability for the SharePoint form? I would configure multiple SharePoint server in the form, set up load balancing and use database mirroring or clustering for database high availability. I will do regular backup that is crucial for disaster recovery. Thank you so much for watching and your support means so much what for us. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe our channel for more content like this. Your engagement is help us to grow and create more exciting video for you. We appreciate each and every one of our subscriber. Until next time, take care and stay awesome. Thank you.